We want to solve systems of equations using substitution, and this is going to be an algebraic method to solve a linear system. So to solve algebraic, we want to use substitution and find a variable with a coefficient of 1. That is the easiest way to solve. So if we're talking about a coefficient of 1, if we have y equals 1/2 x minus 7, if that's our equation that we have, the variable that has a coefficient of 1 is going to be the y variable. So if we have y by itself with a coefficient of 1, that will be the easiest way to substitute it in. So solve one of the equations for one of the variables. In this case, we have y by itself on the left-hand side, and then substitute the new equation from step 1 into the equation that you haven't used yet. Solve the equation, then substitute the value into the equation and solve for the other variable, and then check your ordered pair. So those are the steps, and we are going to do an example. We're actually going to do 2 examples of how to do that. So the directions say solve the following system of linear equations by substitution. Describe the solution type as one solution, no solution, or infinite solutions. So in this case, we have y by itself, and so we will be able to substitute that expression in for y. So we're going to take this, we're going to take y out, and we're going to replace it entirely with 5x plus 3. So I'm going to start writing the original, or the first equation here, which is 5x minus 3, and now I'm going to replace that y with 5x plus 3. And then I'm going to go back to finish writing the rest of that equation. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take our -3 and we want to distribute it into our parentheses here. So I'm just going to bring the 5x down. -3 times 5x is -15x. -3 times 3 is -9. And we still have the 1. Now here we have an x and an x, so we can combine those like terms, and we end up with -10x minus 9 equals 1. So we can still work with GEMDAs here, because at this point we've simplified as much as we can, and now we want to solve to get x by itself. So first thing we come to in GEMDAs, I can write it down up here. The first thing we come to is addition and subtraction. So I want to add 9 to both sides of the equation to get away from that x variable. And at that point we get -10x is equal to 10. And then we can divide by -10, divide by -10, and then we get x is equal to -1. So we think we found one of the solutions. We think we found that x is equal to -1. So now we're going to take x is equal to -1, and we're going to substitute it into this bottom equation here. So I'm going to write that out exactly as it is. Y equals 5, but now I'm going to take the x out, and I'm going to replace it with -1. And then say plus 3. Now there's nothing to solve over here, so we can just do our multiplication, and we get y is equal to -5 plus 3, and y is equal to -2. So we think that we have our ordered pair. We have -2 for y, and we have x is -1. And so the last thing is we want to check it with the first equation to make sure that it is correct. So 5 times -1 minus 3 times negative 2 is equal to 1. Now this is a check, so we want to put a question mark above that equal sign to show that we're checking to make sure that it's correct. So we get negative 5 plus 6 is equal to 1, and negative 5 plus 6, that is 1 is equal to 1, so that is true. So then we have the ordered pair of negative 1 and negative 2.